The ego is the system that runs your sense of self. It is made out of thought patterns, emotions, and behavior loops, and the stories that try to hold it all together. Left unchecked, it creates endless existential searching, chronic disconnection, and the persistent sense that something is wrong. The goal of my videos is clarity, to see your identity and its contradictions for what they are, named precisely, to finally understand what it is that we're all running away from. The modern obsession with finding your life mission, purpose, or the meaning of life is a psychological buffer against the discomfort of what reality is actually like. Just an empty afternoon with nothing specific to do, nothing that is getting your attention or giving you some grand narrative of saving the world or building a giant business, but just how things are like when there's nothing to do, an empty afternoon. Now, if you are suffering through this empty afternoon and you're seeking some sort of deeper fulfillment with life, the issue is not purpose, and the issue is also not meaning. The idea of meaning and purpose are pretty much egoic delusions, grand narratives that the ego hijacks in order to distract you from what is actually going on. It is trying to make oneself important when one is just not that important at all. It is a way to up yourself in the hierarchy against the universe. And the best example that can free you from this egoic delusion is if you have a pet, for example, and you can just look at your dog having a walk and see how happy he is. He doesn't need any of the stuff that you think you need. And you can find this all over the animal kingdom. They are pretty content if they are, just being themselves and having their basic needs met. Why is it so different for human brains? What is within the human brain that believes it needs to find some meaning for existence? Clearly, what is missing is whatever the dog has, that is just content, doing the simplest thing possible. He's just not just content. Like, if you have walked a happy dog in your life before, it makes you happy too, because they're just so free and so in the experience of that moment. And if you were to look at it objectively, you might say, wow, what an utter delusion. The dog is just imagining that any of this matters, but it is just biologically programmed, and therefore it is completely irrelevant, and therefore meaning doesn't exist. Wow, what a depressing reality. But you understand that if this is the way you want to look at stuff, then this will always be true for you as well, which is precisely the problem that I had when I was looking for my life purpose or life meaning. If you look everything from a lens of pure biology, then you might say it's quite meaningless because it's just biology. But if it were just biology, then why are you suffering through that meaninglessness? Why doesn't it feel good to feel this way? So this implies that even in meaninglessness, there's some meaning to be found there, because you are in pain. And if pain is real and it is connected to biology, then it is kind of an excuse to say that meaning doesn't really exist because we are some merely biological creatures. And if you want to take a more cosmic perspective and say that I'm looking for some cosmic meaning, like the universe or consciousness needs to have like a purpose, you can draw beautiful narratives, of course, like reality being infinite creativity, or you are the way of the universe to experience yourself. And I personally always found this extremely unsatisfying because I still didn't see a point to it. I didn't see the meaning in it because I personally didn't feel meaningful. And this is where it actually happens. It is the personal relationship to yourself. The ego has an intellectual shield that labels experiences as meaningful or meaningless. And it does so in order to orient its own sense of self-importance towards reality. The raw texture of experience itself lacks that hierarchy. Things are important or unimportant in maybe terms of survival, but never in this term of meaning or purpose the way the human ego imagines it to be. The ego uses a future-oriented way of thinking to basically colonize the present moment and avoid the silence of what is actually going on. It builds an identity out of stuff that isn't there. Because if you truly just take pure, raw consciousness of immediate experience, then the ego has absolutely no place in it. You wouldn't think about anything. There's nothing to think about. There's nothing to plan for. And there's nothing to be regretful about if you purely live outside of thought and in pure presence. But the ego doesn't like this, because what does it feel like? It feels meaningless. It feels without purpose. This sense can be easily tapped into if I were to tell you to meditate today for 1 hour. If you meditate regularly, well, then you have to practice. But if you don't have to practice, then the immediate thought, either before or during meditation, is, wow, this is very pointless. Why am I even doing this? Of course it is pointless. That's the entire point. Because you are dissolving the thing that is trying to look for a point. You're dissolving the thing that is trying to seek for some sort of fulfillment, to make the present moment into something that it is not. Meaning and purpose can never be found in this typical egoic way, because you're planning for something that never arrives. You cannot be something in the future. You cannot do something in the future. Purpose and meaning always are about a sense of direction. It is, where is your current mind oriented towards and moving towards? The dog feels amazing going for a walk because it knows precisely what it is doing, and it has precisely his goals in mind, and they are immediate and direct, and they don't require God-given testaments in order to make his play with the other dogs meaningful. It just enjoys the moment experience. In the same way that pain makes meaning obvious, joy makes meaning obvious too. If you connect with what you're doing and you love what you're doing, then the question of meaning is not even going to come up. It is self-evident in the immediacy of the raw experience. The experience has meaning embedded within it. That's why love feels meaningful and suffering feels meaningful as well. That's why this video has some certain meaning embedded, because I'm giving you information, I'm giving you words, you're connecting it to your own reality model, you're wondering how to think about the stuff, and then you're kind of digesting it into, your own version of what you think matters. And you can say, well, it is just an illusion made up by human language, but I'm clearly pointing to something with each and every single word that I'm saying. And if that's the case, if both all our conscious experience and also all our language has genuine, meaning to it, like it's actually pointing to something real, then instead of saying that there is no meaning, there's meaning absolutely everywhere. There's no end to find meaning in, because literally everything has some meaning to it. It's just not always in this egoic survival sense. Now, the way you get to this place where everything appears meaningful is actually the other way around. Instead of seeking meaning outwards, you deconstruct meaning inwards. If you cannot be present because your mind keeps thinking about something that you have done and strongly regret, some trauma from your ex, or another horrible life event that is kind of like haunting you, or personal narratives about shame and judgment, or not being enough for some people in your life, then these stories will haunt you with their meaning. And it's precisely the meaning that is not letting the present moment be what it is. In the darkest aspects, like if you lose somebody that you loved, and you're dealing with all of this emotional backlash of it, well, you will have to kind of live in the past for a while, in the sense that you have to process this stuff, right? But it can only be processed in the present moment experience. And often what is seen in doing this is that it doesn't matter anymore. It only matters for the emotional baggage or echo that is being left. People cannot let go of the past because they keep creating meaning about the stuff that has happened when it is long gone. And it is precisely this meaning making that the brain does that is causing you to be stuck in the past and causing you to be stuck in all of these narratives that are not really real anymore. And only by seeing through them, like seeing through the truth that they are pointing towards, and then deconstructing the meaning behind it, you can actually find yourself in a place where you don't have to think all the time anymore about who you are and what it means and all of the stuff. You're basically like a dog that has trapped itself in one's own house and is not letting go from this entrapment when the door is wide open. All you must do is leave the past behind. And the only way you can leave the past behind is through the present moment experience and letting go of the meaning that you have attached your identity towards. Because meaning and identity are very much interconnected, and the sense of lack of meaning is most of the time a sense of lack of self-worth, lack of self-compassion. Because just like with anything that you enjoy and love, meaning kind of explains itself. The same way that if you like and enjoy yourself, then there's nothing you need but being yourself. And the meaning question resolves on its own. If you're struggling with meaning and want to understand where the friction in your body lies, then check out my Ego Architecture Audit, where I can analyze your sense of identity and help you figure out what it is that is causing you, the sense of dullness or unsatisfactoriness with life. The vividness of sensory reality increases when the dullness is, moved out of the nervous system. When you sense that life is kind of boring or dull, it always points to some, deeper authenticity that you're lacking, some deeper self-expression that you, would love to enact in the world, but for some weird reason, you've either forgotten or pretend it doesn't matter. I personally had this a lot. Like, I wanted to do stuff, but then my philosophical mind told me that it doesn't really matter. And it was actually a way to not express my authentic self, because expressing my authentic self would be risky. And look at me now. Look at me now. So if you stop resisting mundane reality, like just boring day-to-day stuff, you can see that even the simplest things, like cleaning up your room, contain some sort of weird psychological tension in the way, you relate to meaning. And by removing this idea that it means something, it is much easier to act. Because if you truly make something mean more than it has to, you're actually robbing the fun out of it. When you play, the play doesn't need to be that important. You can see this with kids when they play outside in like the park or a garden. And I also remember my own childhood. Just you're so immersed in the thing that you're playing that if an adult were to come into the room and say, none of this matters, you're just imagining the stuff, there's nothing more irrelevant than this. Of course, it's all imaginary. Who cares? It feels real at the moment because you're playing. And in the same way, even though this entire human artifice is an utter construction, playing is fun if you drop the need for it to mean more than it actually does. So if you identify where your own meaning-making stories lie, and you are able to deconstruct them over time, then you'll feel much more content each moment. And interestingly enough, then is where real meaning and purpose reveals itself to you. Because it does also exist. You can live your day-to-day life doing stuff that you enjoy more or enjoy less. You can spend your time with things that matter to you in a very authentic and deep way. And you will find this through silence. You'll find this through afternoons where there's nothing to do and there's, nothing to say, and you're just kind of bored. And if you spend time not reacting towards this boredom and you are relatively stoic about it, check out my last video about stoicism, then you can find that, there's this deeper thing beneath the boredom, that if I move through the boredom instead away from it, I can find what this boredom is actually about. And there again, it can be a bit complicated, right? Because there's this ability to make meaning out of a feeling like boredom that is completely artificial. Like you are imagining that, oh, I'm bored because of X reason, and in actuality you're just bored because you have like watched less social media today and you're addicted to social media, and you have a chemical reason for why this boredom is happening, and now the mind will give you stories for why you are actually bored. So this is something that can be a bit confusing, because it will always have also a relationship to your just biological makeup. Like, how much sleep have you gotten? Like, I know that if I sleep less, then yeah, it's much easier for me to become bored or less active. And then yeah, it is sometimes a bit difficult to discern what is now true. Like, oh, I am feeling bored because this is happening to me, or because I'm just making stuff up. But all of this becomes relatively irrelevant if there's then an authentic feeling of, oh, I want to do this. And when you notice, oh, I want to do this more than I normally want to do things, then there's something authentic there. And it might stay or it might not stay. But following then this impulse is authentic expression. So this is the way you actually find liberation from all of the stressors of life. Because now you can just be a human and enjoy things that humans do. And this includes cleaning your room. And if cleaning your room is not that big of a deal, well, then you just do it, right? And there's nothing more to it. It's just very simple. And you find over time that everything is actually very, very simple. And it's just the human meaning making system that tries to make it all so goddamn complicated, when we all just deep down want to be like dogs.